Hello, I'm Richard Burns of Santa Clara, California. I like to present my family tree. On Ancestry.com, click Sign In. If you know the login, you get access to my pages. Go up to the tree menu, pull down, click on Richard Burns, and you get my tree. Click on my photo icon, a menu pops up. Click on Profile and you land on the page of facts, or you land on the life story page. Click on Gallery, you get a collection of photographs of my life. Click on the photograph that interests you and the photograph pops up. Note the information on the right. If you want to go back to the gallery, click the back arrow. You will learn that I was once a child and twice married. My first marriage with Violet Doreen Tom, and we had 2 girls. Here's the first one, Colleen, when she was very young. The candles indicate 12 months old. Here's my second child, Shauna, in San Jose, with flair. My wife was a Native American, the Shoshone tribe. Here's her parents, Jesse and Harry Tom. My kids, here they both are, Colleen and Shauna, with me and Pierre, our dog. In 1968, I received a draft notice and decided to join the Air Force. I worked many years at HP in semiconductor engineering. Here's my second wife, Wanda. We met at a square dance club. Here we are on the bank of the Eel River, and here we are on the patio. We had a Dixieland band at HP called the Note Benders. This is my girlfriend Lee Gwynn at home. Cruising to Alaska in 2009, we saw Mendenhall Glacier. Here having a great dinner on our Baltic cruise. Where are my ancestors from? Here's a map that shows it from my DNA analysis. Back to my family tree. Now see my father above? He was Lawrence Wilson Burns. This is Lawrence and me in his later years. Here he's young with his wife Nancy Dudley. This is with his grandchildren, Colleen and Shauna. This is with his second wife, Ella, my stepmother. Here's a photo from his work as a meter reader. Here he's on the left. His father, William Albert, is just to the right of him. His brother Bob and his wife, Helen, are on the right side. He graduated in 1932 from USC. Here he is out with my stepmother and her son. Along with photos, there are also documents, things like census and marriage information, so it's not just all photos. Here you see Lawrence is a male, white, 11 years old and single, the son of William Albert Burns. Back to my tree. Go to the tree menu, pull down, click on my mother's icon. There's much more information here. For example, you can read their full name, birthplace, date of death, relationship to the tree keeper. Off to the right are a list of family members. To the left of that there are sources of documents in the gallery. Back to my mother's gallery, I'll choose one. My mother's nickname was Nancy, shown here in 1914. Nancy liked to draw fashion, like here when she was 17. She earned a Bachelor of Science degree in chemistry at UCLA in 1935. Here she is left of center with my dad next to her and my Aunt Helen and Uncle Bob off to the right. Here's Nancy with Polly on the front porch. Here in 1944 with Polly and Bill on our front lawn. Let's check out a few photos of my mother's sister, Helen Dudley. Her father Ernest is seated and Helen and Nancy are standing. We're visiting her in Indiana, 1981, with my kids and her 2 granddaughters in the swings. I'm seated with my Aunt Helen, Bill's in the back, and my cousin Jim is on the left. Working back in time from my father, find his parents, Ada Ray Austin and William Albert Burns. Click on his icon and click on Profile, and you get his fax screen. It took more digging to get some of these pictures. Here he is, young and all dressed up. Here's Ada Ray and William Albert Burns in a formal photograph. My dad and his father on the left. My Uncle Bob is on the right. Here, Grandpa is flanked by his 2 sons, Larry and Bob. His roque team was the champion of the league, according to this news article. Here's the house where my grandpa and family lived in Warsaw, New York. Here's Ada Ray, possibly with her parents. Above my grandpa in the tree, find my great-grandpa, George Wilson Burns, and his wife, Helen Merchant. George came to America with his parents in 1856 at 7 years old. On this tree, you can go back at least 2 more generations. Polly, also known as Mary Helen Burns, was my older sister who passed away in 1980. Here's her gallery. A good photograph with my brother Bill, very young. Here, dressed up and perky. Our mother was ill while we were growing up, so Polly took her place, performing largely thankless duties. She was a star trombone player in the high school dance band. Here she is all dressed up, wearing heels. Here's a good shot, Polly with attitude, leaning on my brother Bob. My brother William Dudley Burns was 3 years older, so if I was unsure, I'd look to him as a model. In 1952, our foster parents at the time had professional photographs of us, which they gave to our dad. Bill and I played baseball a lot. Bill practiced more than Bob and I and developed into a very good tuba and string bass player. Here, he's a guest soloist in an adult band. This one's from the high school 10-year reunion. We visited him in Buffalo in 1981 and went to Niagara Falls, and then again with my second wife, Wanda, in 1994. Here we're visiting our Aunt Helen when she lived in Santa Ana. Bill had a long and successful career playing string bass in the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra, a career lasting 40 years under 5 conductors. I was particularly close to my brother Robert Austin Burns. He wasn't into sports or studying, but rather the one most likely to misbehave. At 12 years old, we got new suits for church. Here he has an important part in our high school play, South Pacific, as the most non-conforming sailor in the chorus, speaking of which, he became a sailor, a radio operator stationed in Taipei for a while. He made sure his hair looked good. Now, my Uncle Bob was a totally different character. To me, he had a lot of charisma. According to the family lore, he was a prospector of gold. Was with his younger brother Larry, and here 10 years younger, my father in a contemporary Victorian style of the day. On the right are Robert and Helen Burns. Robert married Helen Bernice Gray, born in Chatsworth. He was into ham radio and talked overseas with people from Australia and China, and he showed us fool's gold, iron pyrite. Here's Helen with their first son, Kenneth. Here's Robert not quite smiling. Here's a great smile from Helen, and this one with Barbara, her daughter. Uncle Bob, his dad, and my dad. Here's Bob with his father, his youngest son, Don, and their trusty collie. Donald Lawrence Burns was born in the same year I was, 1944. He was the youngest of my Uncle Bob's children, here with Ken's wife, Pat, in 1951. In July 1965, he married Linda Lou Fontaine. This one's at his mother's house in Prescott, Arizona. He went sailing with his brother Ken at least once. A pose of Linda and Donald with their sons, Mark and Mike behind them. Linda at home with one of her favorite hobbies, and relaxing in their living room reading something to Dawn. A granddaughter going for a ride. Dawn, Barbara, and Ken, my cousins on my father's side. Dawn and Linda with Mark's children, John and Matthew. Dawn and family much younger. To see Dawn's children, you might have to click the family icon next to Dawn. Here's young Mike and Jean, here in his ROTC uniform. Father with daughter Caitlin. Mike created websites and now has a military career, here with his wife Jean. Here they are at Lauren's graduation. Mike's younger brother is Mark Allen Burns, here with his wife Kelly and children John and Matthew. Here with his family with Mickey Mouse. With a group of firefighters heading south. What's up with snow in Iraq? His children running on a pier. And this kid is working the audience already. Dawn's sister is Barbara Helen Burns. She did a great deal of missionary training work in Brazil and even wrote a book on it. Here she's smiling at Pat's Christmas party 2003. Ah yes, the pigtails. And yet she grew up. She got inspired to do missionary work in Brazil, back in the U.S. with Ken and Don. After 40 years we got together again at Morro Bay with Ken and Pat. Good smile. One of my most enjoyable trips was a trip out to Brazil to visit her and learn something of her life's work in 2004. At Cocarinho Praia, south of João Pessoa. She became quite an influence in JUVEP, an organization of missionary workers. She flew back to America for Christmas parties at Ken and Pat's house and to visit friends in Prescott and Denver. In the States for a visit with cousins going to Niagara Falls in 2010. And now she's sailing. Yours truly and Barbara at Ken's in 2017, here with a missionary group in Brazil. Kenneth Robert Burns is the patriarch of the family on the Burns side. He did various jobs, but his most successful one was making fiberglass stuff. He's posing here with his son Gary. Here showing the scale of some of his work. Advertising literature showing his company logo. He was in the Army for 2 years in Michigan where he met his future wife Pat Pinnock. Boats and sailing were an important part of his leisure time activities. And by the way, leisure with Ken is an oxymoron. Here's Ken with Barbara and Don. Ken and Pat loved to do things with friends, and they had many opportunities to travel and visit with them. Here the intrepid travelers are overlooking Athens. I joined up with them on a trip to Niagara Falls, both exciting and interesting. They did a lot of travel in their retirement. Here they are in Dubai on a camel, just one of their many adventures on their Royal Odyssey cruise around the world in 2015. They traveled the U.S. in an RV, and they did cruises such as this one around Cape Horn in South America. To get Pat's ancestors and descendants, navigate to the Pinnock family tree. Go up to the tree menu, pull down, click on Pinnock Family Tree. Pat's in the upper right corner. Click on Pat's icon, click on Profile, and you get the facts page for Patricia Ann Pinnock. This time let's check out what's on her life story page. At the top is a brief synopsis of what has happened in her life. Scroll down to see a map of where she was born. Scroll down to look at the timeline of milestones in her life like marriage and births, and they throw in some of the photos along the way. Scroll back to the top and click on Gallery. Here's how you look after more than 50 years with Ken. Here she is giving a short speech at her retirement party. She and Ken having lunch with Barbara and me. Morro Rock in the background. Pat likes to communicate and she's an excellent writer too. She wrote this autobiography and 2 sequels. She's usually right and she's always been a good sport about things. At least that's what she says. Staying on the Pinnock family tree, you can find her children and grandchildren. Here's Gary with his younger sister, Terry. Terry Ann Burns earned a master's degree in psychology from Antioch University. She's a licensed marriage and family therapist. She specializes in relationship issues, grief management, and anxiety issues. And she has a little dog at home named Cooper. Here's everyone enjoying Pat's 2019 Christmas party. Here she is young and dressed up with her brother Gary Robert Burns. In May 1981, Gary married Marcy Kay Helmstetter, and they had 2 children, Lauren Heather and Sean Gerald. Here Gary is toting their little daughter at Yosemite. Here's a nice family pose. Marcy at Pat's 2013 Christmas party, and with daughter all grown up. Here are a few photos from the gallery of their daughter, Lauren Heather Burns. Hi there. With Mike and family at her graduation. At the 2017 Christmas party, a great picture of Lauren with framed pictures behind her. And their son is Sean Gerald Burns. And here are a couple of photos of him. Now some photos of me and my children selecting the Richard Burns tree from the tree menu, but many of these are extra and not on the Ancestry site. Here I am about 3 years old, and this is about 8 years old, 1952. And here in Canoga Park with Dick and Donna Carey, my foster brother and sister at the time. Vern Fuller, another foster brother, he made it to the big leagues. On weekends we lived with our dad in this house in Burbank. I was on the varsity golf team in high school, lettering 2 years. Here I'm captain of the volleyball team in the HP League in 1985. Here I'm singing a parody song at a retirement party at HP. I worked in the quality department for 15 of my 29 years at HP. Our small wedding at Montecito Presbyterian Church was cheap, a $10 donation. Our reception was in our apartment with potato chips and Hawaiian punch. Now find Violet Tom's icon and see her ancestors. They had a cattle ranch on the South Fork Reservation, 26 miles south of Elko, Nevada. We took them to the Calgary Stampede, one of the world's largest rodeos, in 1978. 5 months after our wedding, I got my Bachelor of Science degree from UCSB. Click on the family icon if needed to expand to see my children. Click on the Colleen Burns icon for more photos. About a year after our wedding, Violet gave birth to a little girl, Colleen Michelle Burns. She forced us to learn how to parent quickly. And 4 years later came Shoshana Lee Burns. Here I am with our children at our first house on Duval in San Jose. This one is at Niagara Falls, and this one is visiting my Aunt Helen in Indiana. Colleen got into volleyball in the 7th grade. Messy as her room was, she could clean up quite prettily. I don't know the occasion. She played volleyball for a season at Westmont College. She got pregnant and didn't tell me till 2 months after the baby was born. The father was Mike Salitti, boyfriend and roommate. That didn't work out quite like Three's Company. Colleen and daughter look fine here. For my first grandchild, click on Daylin Renee Burns. I think she turned out cheerful, flexible, and athletic. I call this my Jack Nicholson photo. Her father and mother celebrating Daylin's 8th grade graduation. She inherited her mom's interest in volleyball. Here's kill 34, set 15. Here flying high for the kill. She became captain and setter for Nevada, holds 5th place all time for Wolfpack assists while keeping up grades in engineering. Colleen's second daughter is Malia Rachel Liu. Her father was Jim Liu, originally from Taiwan. A family photo including Jim's children. At a Giants baseball game. Loving sisters. Malia with her mom and sister. Proud graduate. Mother and daughter. Showing her patience at Daylin's volleyball tournament. In a cute costume playing with Legos. Outside after a Thanksgiving meal. Malia playing games again. Okay, a few shots of Brian Martin. He's a great Giants fan. Also a Colleen fan. A classic family photo. Enjoying a Merry Christmas with Maddie and Shauna. Speaking of Shauna, here are a few of her photos. All dressed up for the prom. My youngest daughter. Meanwhile, back at the ranch with Brandon, Colleen, and Chalk. She's off to summer camp. And here with a friend on the Pioneer High School dance team. With Mom on prom night. With her parents and Colleen at graduation. We explored Mendocino in 1992. Walking her down the aisle at her wedding with Maddie Stout, November 2006. Here's Maddie Stout, the very cool guy she married. Instead of having children, they have a lot of puppies. A classic photo in romantic Hawaii. A bucket list item for me, see Dodger Stadium. Maddie is into radio production and now doing podcasting development. A good enough reason to live in La La Land. Here are samples of Maddie and Shauna's Christmas cards. Once again, we're celebrating Christmas. That's all for now, but stay tuned.